So the big question is this: how do aspiring real estate investors like us escape from the rat race and build real wealth and freedom without access to millions of dollars in investment capital and start to live the life that we know we deserve? This is the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. My name is Zack Childress, and welcome to Real Estate Investing Talk Show. So let's talk about the power team, right? So we've been talking about emerging markets. We've been talking about, what I would do if I had 40,000, I had to start over again. We've been talking about the rental markets. We've been talking about the housing economics and what we think's going on. We've been talking about the rise in rents and all these great topics. But none of this will do you any good if you don't understand three things to get your real estate business off the ground and running, okay? Number one is market segmentation, which is what we've been talking about. Like, are you going to be a landlord, and where's the best areas to own rentals in? Look, some of you, I get it. You don't want to own a rental property outside of your driving distance, and that's fine. That's your choice, but you do limit yourself to market share. You limit yourself to competitors, or you increase your competition if you're in a highly competitive market. You might be finding rentals, but there's better returns in other markets. But that's your choice. If you want to stay local, you stay local. I've never been that person. I believe in buying rental properties and investments anywhere that makes sense because I understand the other two qualifications in these three things. So, number one is obviously market segmentation. If you're going to be a landlord, then you need to understand what we refer to as emerging rental markets. Where do you get ahead of the curve? Where do you get the bump in rents? How do you find those areas? Or market segmentation when it comes to fix and flips. How do you identify where the demand and the need is for moving into areas that are going to have a higher demand for housing because there might be a shortage or whatever the case may be? That's market segmentation. It falls into two categories, for flipping and for renting, right? You got to understand that. Number two is you got to get your funding together, right? And number three is your power team. Those are the three cores that I tell people all the time. If you're going to start the business, we got to understand this. We got to know this. And they go, well, what about X, Y, and Z? Well, that falls under your power team, right? So what are the 7 key components of your power team? Well, number one is a realtor. We always need a realtor on our team, whether that realtor is bringing us deals off the MLS. Now, remember, I always say don't always depend on the MLS for all your deals because, there's a plethora of other ways to find deals. But we do need an agent. An agent is very important because I need an agent who will find me deals. I need an agent who will sell my houses for me when I fix them up. I need an agent that can cross-reference my ARV that I come up with through a CMA report. So agents are very important on your team, and you need those. And you need investor-friendly agents. I just had a meeting yesterday over at a up-and-coming and rising realty office that's really kicking butt around here. I mean, they've got a great model. I sat and interviewed the guy for a little while and what they're doing and the things that they're making happen. And I can see how they're going to make a huge sweep through our area, northern Alabama, all the way down to Birmingham, because they've got it figured out. And they also understand content-driven deliverables. And we're actually going to be teaming up to do a bunch of stuff together. And so I think it's great. But one of the things we talked about was the difference between a traditional agent versus an investor-friendly agent. And you got to understand this. I mean, there is a wall there that you have to break down when you're dealing with an agent that doesn't understand investors. So be clear on that, okay? So that's number one. Number two is you got to get yourself in front of and communicating with closing attorneys or title companies, depending on your market, okay? It's important that you do this, and here's why. Because the last thing you want to do is get a deal, get ready to close, and you're going to do some creative form on it, whether it be creative financing, subject to land installment contract for whatever the case may be. Or maybe it's just a wholesale deal. Or maybe you're just using transactional funding. Something that's outside the norm of a normal closing office. You better bet your sweet behind. You better have already been down to a title company or a closing attorney's office and have communicated with them in which your intent is to do some types of your transactions, because some of them will agree with what you want to do and some of them won't. Does not mean the next one down the road won't do it. They will, right? So you might need to work with 2 or 3 different closing attorneys in your area, or you might find one like I did here in Alabama that just does it all. Like they'll do everything. But I want to be clear with that up front. I don't want to be chasing the gun, if you know what I mean. I don't want to get a deal under contract and then start running around trying to find somebody that will help me close that deal. I want to know it ahead of time. Preparation, right? Being prepared is better than being a reactive investor. Be prepared in your journey. Get out there and meet people, talk to people, set appointments, get out of your comfort zone, get out from behind your computer, get out from that desk and go out there and start shaking hands and meeting people in this industry. It's called networking. And let me tell you something, there's more power in networking than there ever is in doing the business alone. You got to build them. You got to get these closing offices on your team, okay? That's number 2. Number 3 is you got to get some kind of contractor handyman. You might even need both depending on your business model. And the contractors, you want to vet them. And let me tell you something, the biggest way I've ever vetted a contractor is through referrals. Number 1. And number 2 is a list of references. And I have a series of questions that I ask. I want to know their references. I want to know what it is that they do. Did they actually work for them? Right? Hey, did this person do work for you? Yes. Great. Was he on time? Was he on schedule? Did he get the job done to your satisfaction? Was he on budget? Was he clean? Did you have challenges with him? I want to know these things. And yeah, can some people be in a way of, how do I say this, to give you referrals that they've done good for? Yeah, they can. Absolutely. They can. But let me say this to you guys. I know in the investing world, I hate this about the investing world, is that we only ever hear about the bad stories. Like, for instance, out of 10 landlords I talk to, 8 of them are going to tell me all their horror stories, right? They're going to tell me everything about the worst rental property they've ever had. And for the new person, they hear that and it puts fear in them to move forward building a portfolio. But I'm here to tell you, it's not that bad. It's really not. I mean, it's not as bad as the bad stories we hear. There's more good and more positive stories out there that you just don't hear because people, for some reason, don't want to share the positive. They want to tell you the negative. They want to be like news stations, right? They want to tell you the drama and the fake news and the blah, 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 right? So I'm here to tell you, contractors can be one of the biggest components of your business, and building that relationship wisely and setting boundaries early and expectations early and controlling how they're paid is going to give you a huge benefit in that. And some of you have been to my bus tour here in Huntsville where, I take 15 to 20 people and I show them how I do my rehab business. I take you through my rehabs. Some of you just have my Rehab Made Easy course from home. There's a ton in there about how we work with contractors. And you got to have some form of handyman. So if you're a landlord, you don't need a contractor to go in and clean up a building and, maybe paint some walls and change out some lights and things like that. That's where a handyman comes in, or your property management company. So, all right, that takes me to the next part. Number 4 is your property management company. You need to have a solid property management company on your team. And you probably need to have several, because here's why. Some of them will manage properties in some areas and some class of buildings, and others won't manage. So, like I hold a strong portfolio of some buildings that are in C-type neighborhoods, and some management companies don't want to deal with those, where others specialize in those buildings. And so you need to get out there, communicate with property management companies. But here's the other reason that is the big win with property management, okay? Is that they have a list of landlords, and they know which ones are active and they know which ones are burned out, that don't want to fix anything, don't want to deal with it, don't want to return phone calls, right? Well, that's why you want that relationship. Number 1, if you're a wholesaler and you get a deal under contract and it's cash flow, well, why don't you take it to a property management company and let them know you have a contract for sale, and one of their landlords might want to buy that and gives them another building to manage. Number 2 is you want to be on the phone with them and say, look, you got any buildings that you're managing from landlords that just aren't taking care of the building and it's making it harder for you? And would they be interested in selling it? And if I buy it, I'll let you manage it. That's what they're in the business to do. So it's a huge win. Now, Number 5 is buyers. And this is more for the people who are building a power team for wholesaling, but you've got to get your buyers in play, right? Not just cash buyers, but you got to get your tenant buyers. You got to get your financed buyers. You got to get your co-wholesaling buyers in play. Remember, we teach 4 ways of wholesaling, not traditionally. I mean, we teach traditional, but we don't say that's the only way to wholesale, because that's not the only way to wholesale. There's multiple buyers you can work with. Like you can do what's called an option control wholesale, where you only need tenant buyers and you're wholesaling the option right to the tenant buyer. You have cash buyers, which is traditional. You're going to wholesale your contract right to that cash buyer. You've got financed buyers, where you're actually going to get paid out of escrow through either some form of demand of funds letter or even maybe through transactional funding. And you've got co-wholesalers, where you're going to use like a flex option or a co-marketing agreement or a service provider agreement or something of that nature. And these buyers are out there. I mean, cash buyers are of abundance. I mean, there are more buyers in today's market than we've seen in 5 years. I mean, look at it. I mean, we were just sitting around talking just 2 years ago. I felt like I was the kingpin around here. Like I was like on top of my market heavily. And in the last 1.5 to 2 years, man, people have been popping up everywhere, okay? They've been popping up everywhere. Everybody's a buyer right now. Everybody wants to be in the real estate market. Everybody's in this thing. And so they're out there. You just got to keep marketing to them. You got to keep using advertisement to get to them. You got to post in groups and meetups, and you got to go to your local RIAs, real estate investing associations. Yeah, there's other little clubs out there too, but real estate investing association is much different. Like they are accredited by the National Investor Association, which means they have a code of conduct and things like an agent has to follow, where clubs can just pop up everywhere and do what they want to do. Most of these clubs that pop up, though, they don't stay around. They'll pop up, they'll go away, and it's over. Where RIAs, they've been around forever. So just know that. So you got to get that buyers rocking and rolling for yourself. On top of that, you got to get some private lenders, guys. And let me help you understand this real quick with private lenders. Yeah, do you all want the well? Of course you want the well. Everybody wants the well. You know, the guy's sitting on $4, $5, $6, $8 million, but the well doesn't happen every month. The well may not even happen every year. But there are a lot of people out there sitting on $15,000, $20,000, $30,000, and you can use that. You can use that in like a second lien position on properties, which was the example I was talking about when Ryan asked me the question earlier. What would I do if I started over again and had $40,000, right? Well, that's the same thing as finding a private investor that only has $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, right? Yeah, it's not enough to go out and do a whole deal, but if you put yourself together, and which is number 7 of our power team, which is funders, and you put yourself together and you get out there and you start talking to asset-based lenders, hard money lenders, banks that want to fund the purchase but don't want to fund anything else, then you need these little private lenders. You need these $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 private lenders, and you need them on your team because they're the ones that are going to let you do the deal. And here's the best part. You don't got no money in it. Now you make $20,000 off that deal. You go buy a rental property. Now you got cash flow coming in. Now you go get that another property, use that same private lender. You do another deal, take that profit, go buy another rental property. And it's how you build the wealth. It's how you build the business. You have to be thinking about, how do I move money to make money, right? How do I move money to make money? So I want to be clear on that with you guys. So, let's go over them again, right? Number 1 is realtor. Number 2 is a closing attorney or title company. Number 3 is a contractor. Number 4 is a property management company. Number 5 is buyers. Number 6 is some small private lenders to help you grow. And number 7 is your initial funding partners. Now, is there a whole world of power team? Yes, of course there is. But really, guys, this is the 7. This is what's going to get you out there and get you started quickly when you start thinking like, who do I need on my team? Who do I need on my team? You've been listening to the Real Estate Investing Talk Show. I'm Zack Childress, and I'm on a mission to create 10,000 real estate bosses over the next year. Will you be one of them? Head over to my website, reisuccessacademy.com/web class, and register for my free web class where you'll discover how to escape from the 9-to-5 grind and become your own boss in real estate. See you there.